All right, welcome back to the Run.down Postgame show, preseason edition. We're back. Knicks are back. I'm Sam. I'm joined by Luca, and I think Jeff will be joining us very shortly. The Knicks win their first preseason game as we get a debut at basically a whole brand new team down in Charlotte. But before we get started, of course, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of 200 grand. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today, get in on the action, bet online. The game starts here. I always love to just unwind with some blackjack or some slot games. Just love the chance to lose money as a way to unwind.
It's so relaxing, man.
Very relaxing. But yeah, the Knicks won their first preseason game here in Charlotte. They won 111-109. And we got a good look at the starters for like a good portion of the first half, I would say. And then we also got a good look at our reserves and some of those Exhibit 9 guys. But yeah, I mean, I thought that it was very interesting. I mean, I think we all kind of expected that Tibbs was going to go with Josh Hart in the starting lineup. And we saw what that looked like. We saw Cat on defense at the 5, which we haven't seen in quite some time, at least at a consistent rate. And yeah, it was just very good to see the Knicks just back on the court. It's a brand new team, basically. I mean, I think they said only 3 or 4 guys or 4 or 5 guys are returning from last year. So it's huge roster turnover. And yeah, I mean, what were your thoughts, I guess, guys? Luca, we'll start with you. What was your thoughts on this game?
It's definitely good to be back. Seeing the starting graphic for the first time popping up on my laptop brought me a lot of joy. Miss Knicks basketball, especially as a Giants fan. Things haven't been going too well over there.
Today's game kind of turned the tides,
today though. But no, it's good to be back, man. I think, like you said, Sam, it's going to be hard to judge a lot of what we're going to see in these preseason games because the lineups are still going to work out their own kinks, right? Like, these guys are just getting to play with each other for the first time. A lot of them. I know the Nova guys played in college, but, Cat's coming in, no more iHeart. Mitch is out for a good portion of the year. No more Julius, no more Dante. The bench is basically just going to be spearheaded by Deuce and Precious, who were here last year, and then it's completely new outside of that. Even if you want to include Mikal there, that's another new piece to add. But what really flashed today for me was Cat's passing, especially his anticipatory passing. I thought you saw it immediately in the game. He hit, I think it was probably Jalen. I think he hit with an overhead no look, and he smoked the layup on it. He hit Mikal backdoor a couple of times with some nice looks. And it's just really good to see him. Schwinn talked about it on one of the pods he recorded last week, Julius's versus Cat's passing. And he touted Julius as the better overall passer. But I don't think he would have made any of those anticipatory passes that we saw Cat make today. So that was really nice. Jalen is still as good as ever. He didn't really flash today, but you just saw how easy it could be for him to score in the regular season with his 5-out look. And I also just thought it was incredibly eye-opening to see how wide open the paint looked while the starters were out there. We haven't really been able to see a full true 5-out look with Jalen on the floor as a Knick yet. So that's going to be exciting to see the starting 5 build on.
Jeff, your thoughts?
Good breakdown, Luca. It's like you didn't miss a beat. Yeah, I liked the Cat passing too. I thought that was really cool to watch. I think that you immediately see the areas where he's better than Julius just from a processing standpoint. There were people who knew Cat better this offseason who talked about that, and I certainly didn't know it was a thing, but he makes big-to-big passes really well. He doesn't like stop and hold the ball, whether it's to shoot, whether it's to drive or to make a pass. He acts reasonably quick, and it's kind of jarring when compared to Julius in that specific regard. So that was really nice to see. It's a weird thing. The Knicks are in a really weird spot, and I think that Tibbs is in a really tough spot, and it's going to take maybe even the whole preseason to figure it out because on one hand, there's this new starting lineup that he wants to gel, and so it makes sense to just have them play together a huge majority of the time. I get that. I get that that's the most important unit, and he wants them to figure it out as quickly as possible. On the other hand, by doing that, you're not really letting yourself figure out any semblance of a rotation. So you're kind of going to go into the regular season without an idea of how you'd like to rotate because you do need to stagger the starters somewhat. It can't be a bench unit. This team isn't deep enough to run a bench unit. Like I think we saw that pretty unequivocally tonight, but it's not even based on tonight. Like most of the guys except Kolek have a long track record in the league. So like imagining a lineup of Payne, Deuce, Shamet, Precious, and a starter. It's not going to do too much in the modern NBA. I don't think they could surprise me. So with that respect, I think you want to figure out, okay, like who am I pulling early in the first? Who am I getting back in with the bench? Are we getting multiple guys back in and doing more staggering than usual? And that's just tough to figure out when you're also trying to figure out chemistry with your starting lineup. That I think Tibbs is in almost an impossible situation. I assume there will be questions about the Hart starting thing, so I don't want to like take up the whole show with that. But obviously, I feel pretty passionate. I don't know. I went on a rant, like a month ago about how Deuce should start. So like I already felt this way. But the thing that's most glaring to me, I'd say, is this is a coach who is one of the worst in the entire NBA at staggering. I think that's just true. I think every Knicks fan who's watched the Knicks the last 4 years he just doesn't do that well. Like he has very, very rigid rotations. It's long shifts, and that's okay. Like he's good at other stuff. This isn't commentary on him as a coach. I'm just talking about that specific skill set. He's not very good at it. And you're telling him, or not telling him, he's decided that his only 3 viable wings are all going to be in the starting lineup. I don't see how that works out long term. Like it's going to work out. We're speaking relatively here. Let's be clear about one thing. Starting lineup's going to be really good regardless. Like it's going to be great. This is a really, really good fitting 5, whether it's Hart, whether it's Deuce in the starting lineup. So we're speaking entirely relatively here. And I think you have to figure out which starting lineup gives you the best rotation, which starting lineup gives your overall team the best ceiling. And I think that when it comes to the wing rotation, Josh Hart's versatility is like Deuce doesn't have that. Josh Hart's versatility is probably his best skill. He can play 3, he can play 4, he can play a little bit of 2. And you're not able to leverage that as well if he's playing with the starters out of position to start the game based on how Tibbs rotates. It's much easier to leverage his versatility if he comes off the bench. And this says nothing of the fact that, like, you could easily argue that the lineup's just better with Deuce anyway. He's a more natural shooting guard. He's a much better shooter. Shooting is very, very important in today's, like you saw it today. They already were searching for ways to exploit the exploit because the Hornets, who project to be, a bottom 10 team in the league, it took them like 5 minutes to be like, okay, well, just ignore Hart. That's all we got to do. And so, like, what do you think teams who are paying attention are going to do? And again, this isn't to say Hart shouldn't play. I think he should play 30 minutes a night. I just think his biggest strengths are better utilized coming off the bench. And I think Deuce is a better fit with the starting lineup. And I just think it's as simple as that.
It's interesting how they used Hart tonight. I saw a lot of actions where they used him as like a screener because we all know Cat isn't really the best of a screener. McCall is kind of like a thinner frame guy. Maybe they might use OG in some of those actions, but I think what they're using Hart for in those starting units is I think they want to at least involve him in actions as a screener just to see how that works out. And he gets to do all the extra dirty work stuff, and everyone else kind of just does what they're really good at too. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. There will have to be a lot of staggering because that second unit, there's like no creation. in that second unit. I mean, they were able to do what they could against, Charlotte's B team, and that's probably how Charlotte's team is going to be most of the year, anyways. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that goes. What really interests me tonight was Shamit. He's the one guy that like is trying to sort of make a name for himself and like get himself on the team. He's not really on the team yet, and he's trying to like fight his way onto the team. Had a really good game tonight. Jordan Bubb brings up 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 assist, plus 8 tonight. We'll see how he looks in this season. I think a lot of people are looking for him to be that Dante replacement. I don't know how he'll fare on the defensive side of the ball. That's always kind of been a weaker spot for him, I would say, as a player. But offensively, if he can shoot the ball the way he did tonight, I don't see why he can't fill in that role to a lesser degree. He won't be relied on as heavily as Dante was last year, hopefully, knock on wood with all the injuries that we sustained last year. But yeah, we'll see if he can, be that 15, 20, maybe 25-minute guy, depending on the night, and, see if he can continue to be productive in different lineups.
I can't believe he's only 27. It feels like he's been around forever. And the Knicks kind of got in on him low. He had his worst shooting season of his career last year. But that's not – I feel like the rest of his career is far more indicative of who he is as a shooter. His shooting is going to be essential off the bench. And, I hate to keep harping on it, but it becomes more essential if Hart starts because it's just a domino effect. If Hart starts, Precious is going to play power forward. They don't have any wings off the bench. They don't. So Precious is going to be the backup to OG. You have Precious, it's just a thing where it's okay, now all of a sudden Deuce and Landry Shamet their lives are even more difficult because they're playing in court and what they had to do to just try to create offense. It's just one big domino effect once you start with Hart in the starting lineup. And it gets a little bit easier to make these rotations and use Precious as a backup center if Hart is coming off the bench with him because you have a wing to take over for Bridges or for OG. But yeah, I mean, back to Shaman, I don't mean to bastardize the conversation. His shooting is going to be important regardless because, yeah, you want spacing off the bench just like you want in the starting lineup. If you look at if you look at dunks and threes, first 5 years in the NBA, 42%, 38%, 39%, 37%, 38% from three, on good volume for 75 possessions. He's never been below the 80th percentile in threes for 75 possessions. Dude just launches. To Sam's point, I think Sam had a really good point about the comparisons to Dante. I think Dante is a better deep three-point shooter, so I think let's not get carried away here. He's not going to be Dante, but he can, off the bench, come in and be a bit of a sniper and provide that gravity that the Knicks will need.
Definitely. And I just think the starting lineup conversation is so interesting because I think, like you mentioned earlier, there's a conversation to be had whether Deuce is just flat out better than Josh, and especially for this team specifically, but also Josh feels very redundant in the starting lineup. He's a worse shooter than OG and Mikal, the other two wings in there, and he's a worse defender than both, and he's smaller than both of them. Obviously you can't measure all the intangibles he brings, but putting Deuce out there just in case there's I don't know, let's say Maxey's giving us trouble and Tibbs doesn't want to put Mikal on him for some reason, and we go Mikal on PG, OG on Embiid, or whatever the defensive matchup is. Not only can Deuce help the offense flow a little bit better, because like you mentioned earlier as well, Jeff, he's just a more natural shooter. That's also an easier defensive matchup for him, and I just think it's easier to slot Deuce in as a defender against more, I guess, different styles of player than Josh. I don't know if Josh is as incredible as a point of attack defender as people seem to talk about him as. I think he's way better as he's just a disruptor, I'd say. And even then, like, if you want to have Mikal came off first today, he was the first starter out, and then Deuce came in the game, right? If Mikal is going to be one of the main starter guys running the bench unit, that lineup also becomes way better if it's Campaign, Shamit, Josh, Mikal, Precious, instead of having the starting lineup be Jalen, Josh, Mikal, OG, Cat, and then, like you said, the bench you have to piece together starters with Campaign and Shamit and Precious at the 4, and then maybe Jericho if Josh starts as well.
Yeah, that's what would happen. Is you forgot Deuce in the second lineup.
I did forget Deuce,
but they would likely make Deuce the backup point guard. Like, I think that's what they would do if they're going to make Precious the backup wing, because they're not going to do a 10-man rotation. So it would be Deuce and one of Shamit or Payne, and then Precious and Sims off the bench, with Precious coming in for OG. It's just, to me, that, I mean, all these little things add up. Like, you have to, if you're considering this equation, you can't just say one thing. Like, Josh Hart does one thing better, therefore the conversation's over. That is extremely, extremely, like, almost just like ignorant analysis, bad analysis. Like, yes, the team will rebound better if Josh Hart is on the court. That is a fact. That is a part of the equation. That is not the whole equation. There are layers to this equation. It is extremely, like, you need to account for the whole context. And, like, anybody out there who's saying that this is just like an easy decision, like, oh, the team moves faster and Josh Hart rebounds better, and it's got to be Josh Hart because Tibbs did it. That's bad analysis. It's just bad. It's just bad analysis. And it's at least close. And if it's not close, it's not close in the other direction, because I think all the evidence and all of the logical data points towards Deuce starting. And I think I can, like, I'm happy to, if you want to get a bold prediction, I think Josh Hart starts the season in the starting lineup, and, like, within 2 months, we're talking about how bad the depth is. Like, that, I think that's where this is headed. And, like, the starting lineup's going to be elite, but it'll be elite regardless. So, like, let's remember that. Like, the starting lineup's going to be really good regardless. This isn't about it's not a binary question. So, like, the starting lineup's good in 2 months. Oh, see, I told you it would be good with Josh Hart. Yeah, I think it's going to be good with Josh Hart too. It's about what's best for the team's ceiling. This team can win a championship, guys. Like, so this team, it's not about just being good. It's about setting this team up to win a championship in 7 months or whatever it is, 8 months. And yeah, I think you invite yourself to bigger issues by forcing Josh Hart in the starting lineup. Because if you just think about it from a rotation standpoint, the minutes thing, there are finite minutes, and Josh Hart can play 30 minutes. We want him to play 30 minutes of backup wing. He is by far the best wing on the team that's not named OG Anunoby or Mikal Bridges. By far. If OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are going to play, pick a number, 34 and 35 minutes a game or whatever, 35 minutes a game, you want Josh Hart soaking up as many of those backup wing minutes as possible. Because we don't have any other wing depth. There's no other. So if he's starting next to those guys, it immediately is harder for him to soak up those minutes when those guys are on the bench. This first domino, and when it all adds up, I just think it's way better for Deuce to be in the starting lineup.
I mean, that's where the depth goes, though, right? Is if you're starting Jalen and Cat, and then the only 3 playable wings you have on the roster. Like, right. There goes depth.
Yeah, that is how you nuke the depth.
I think that will force him to stagger, though. Like, I think that will force him to stagger, just because I think the bench will be that weak if it is.
He won't, though.
I think with this type of roster, he will be forced to.
Tibbs' version of staggering, Sam, is just going to be playing Bridges and Hart all the minutes. Like, they're just going to play 40. He's going to realize that they have no wing depth, and he's going to be like, well, fuck, I don't trust anyone but Hart or Bridges. And he's going to play them 44 minutes a night. And then the sycophants are going to be like, well, what's Tibbs supposed to do? He's trying to give them the best chance of winning. And that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this team will have no choice but to stagger. Like, I just think that's the way things are going to end up rolling. Like, we've seen him do things that we didn't think he was going to do before because he was forced to do it. based on what the team's circumstance was, and I think this will end up being another one of those things, just because like he rolled out, like, I know it's just preseason, but he rolled out a 3-guard lineup with the bench unit tonight, like, and that was already shocking to me, because like even for preseason, that's like so weird for Thibs to even do that. It's like you really trusted Campaign and Shamit out there with Deuce and Sims, like,
and
sheesh.
we saw the Kolek Campaign Shamit lineups too.
Yeah, so I think like he's gonna be forced to try things that he just doesn't want to do, or he's not naturally keen to do, just based on the circumstance of the roster. And if things just aren't flowing the way that he expects, I think the team will just end up making a move, and that's where like the Mitchell Robinson of it all comes into play as well. So we'll see how it rolls out. I'm interested to see if he continues to roll with, Campaign and Shamit and Deuce. I heard he was raving about those three all throughout training camp too. So I mean, usually when Thibs is raving about a particular set of players, that usually means that they will take on a role within the team. And we'll see if he rolls it with a 3-guard bench lineup. He staggers with like, McCall and or OG and Cat. I know we're not going to see any Sims. I hope we don't. At least I pray we see Precious at the backup 5, because I just can't see Sims taking serious backup 5 minutes throughout the year. I know they have a new backup. They have a new big man coach that they're working with. God bless his soul, working with Jericho Sims. But we'll see how that all rolls out.
Dude, he was practicing like that. The coach was like, Jericho's in the lab, and he was practicing like fadeaway 15-footers. And I was like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, why is that the clip we're showing here?
I was talking about the clip where he was practicing the jump hooks with the big man coach that he hired. That trainer that he was working with, I got blocked by them because I was making fun of why he was making Jericho Sims do that in practice, when that's not what Jericho Sims is going to be asked of to do in actual NBA minutes that matter.
Tibbs is going to see him take one post hook and never play him another minute.
Yeah,
he's gonna be cut the next day.
Yeah, no.
Sam, I thought you made a really good point about Precious at the backup 5.
Yes.
Around this, I do think that's another swing factor. We're talking about like domino effects. I do think that Josh Hart is more tenable in the starting lineup, even though I still think there will be rotational issues specifically related to the wings. But I think it's a more viable option if Precious is the backup 5 and they're willing to go like really small off the bench with this 3-guard lineup plus Precious plus one of the starters. I
think they'll do that because Thibs just doesn't want to play that many guys. Yeah. Like, I don't think even though he loves like having a traditional 5 with Sims, like Sims hasn't shown us in 4 years anything that's worth him actually playing rotational minutes to start an NBA season with championship aspirations. That's the thing that's different than all the other years. That's different than this year. This year, they have clear championship expectations, especially after the moves that they made, trading away Dante, trading away Julius, who was like Leon's golden boy. That was like the family. That was CAA's like prodigal son right there. And they traded him away for New Jersey's own Karl Anthony Towns. They traded away all those picks from Mikal Bridges. Like, championship is what they're expecting. So I think Thibs is going to be forced to do all these things that we just haven't seen before, because he actually has like that expectation on him from day one. Because like last year, it was like maybe the Knicks could get to the conference finals, and then they started off the season slow, and then they made the OG trade, and it was like, all right, it's conference finals basically. Now they're coming into this year, it's like, all right, championship, like you got to make the Eastern Conference at the least. Championship is like what we're aiming for, and I think he's not going to be playing Sims from day one if championship is what the goal is.
I mean, I think to that point,
that'd be really promising. That'd be good, and I agree with you. I guess my only slight alteration to your analysis would be, like, I think he also views this as a championship team, and his way to try to win a championship is going to be like, like the first time the bench unit is just terrible. He's just going to put the starters back in again. And that's just going to trickle down, like that's just going to be the thing. Because the truth of the matter is, I mean, Knicks fans, we don't want to talk about it because vibes are so good. like this the bench unit was one of the the players off the bench, whatever you want to call it. That was probably one of our strengths before the Randall trade, and then all of a sudden, like it's very, very quietly, it's dependent on us. A number of things. Shaman's got to get that shot back if he's going to be off the bench. Cam Painter-Kolek has to be like a solid backup point guard. Like all of a sudden, there are some things that we're a little bit less sure of. So that's something we got to watch out for, I guess.
I mean, we could be like an injury away from TJ Warren playing significant minutes after all of his injuries. And like, I'm not even saying it, like, it's way better than the end of the bench we had last year, right? Like, if you're thinking about Daquan and
Dwayne Washington. Shout out to him for the missed free throw today, by the way.
And once a Nick, always a Nick. Dwayne Washington. At least you have like viable NBA proven vets to play this year, but like that shit gets scary, man, if one person goes down, especially on the wing. But I just wanted to go back to your guys' points about it being a championship roster now. I think that also may drive Tibbs in a way. Jeff, you said it might make him try to win as a championship in the way that he sees fit, right? Which would be like the normal Tibbs way of doing things. I think there could totally be a world where we start off the season with Josh starting, we still win a bunch of games early, and the starting lineup is awesome, but it's not as efficient as it could be, and like the offensive rating isn't, I don't know, they have like a benchmark and we're not hitting it, and Josh is being inefficient and isn't really like playing his normal Josh role. I don't think it's crazy to say that he might give Deuce a look next to Brunson starting if the Josh experiment doesn't go too crazy. Because it guarantees, like, either way, the sixth man on this team is going to be playing a gajillion minutes. And that almost might be better for Josh and the Knicks, because now teams have a pretty decent sample size of Josh starting next to Jalen, even though this is a significantly different roster than we've had. And I just think, like, I'm just going to keep bringing it back to the redundancy point. I just think his strengths are amplified so much more off the bench when we don't already have some of the things he does well, like the wing defending and the rebounding. Because, I mean, OG was getting, like, it seemed like he made a point to get on the boards today, which is nice because we're going to need some of that replacement with Julius gone and now Mitch hurt. I don't know. I don't think Tibbs is going to be like completely set in stone like he was before last year. I think to Sam's point, last year probably changed a lot of the philosophies that he had in his own head about how modern day teams are supposed to go about winning. And even like, if you want to talk about it as like a stupid macro perspective, even the trade for Cat in a way is a change in philosophy by the Knicks, who, you know, we used to be a team who just beat other teams to death on the glass and just out-gritted and out-muscled and there were disgusting games. You know, we would win games where we'd shoot 43%, the opposing team would shoot 41, and we'd have like 23 offensive rebounds, score 105. You're not going to really get that anymore with Cat. Like, we have a bunch of strong rebounders. I don't think the offensive rebounding still can't be a strength. I just think we shifted away from that being the identity of the team. And I don't think Tibbs would have he would have given the okay if he wasn't ready to change his philosophy in some way. And all of his changes last year, like everything he did last year in previous years, I never would have, like, I would have told you he would never do that in his coaching career. So I just think it's important to take that into account as well when we're talking about things that we could see or could not see.
Yeah, the team has taken on many different identities throughout Tibbs' tenure. So, I mean, what's another change?
Yeah, those are good points. I hope you guys are right.
Let's get to talking about some other guys that we didn't talk about yet. Precious, Jordan Bubb brings up tonight. Off the bench, 15 points, 6 of 9 from the field. 1 of 2 from 3. Good to see him, taking that 3 at least. 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, +9 team high. But yeah,
and he fucking put someone into the shadow realm. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, I mean, I'm encouraged by Precious. Finding out that Precious is the same age as me really put things into perspective in terms of his development. So like I'm like thinking, I'm like, all right, this guy still has, some things that he can clean up on. It's not like major things that I'm expecting, but there are some things on the margins that he can get better at that will help this team. I think increasing that range, being encouraged to like take a couple threes a game just to keep teams a little bit honest. I don't mind it to start the year at least. I mean, I don't see how it can hurt.
It's kind of like the iHeart thing where he would just randomly take corner threes early in the year. Last year, he took like 5 in a span of 5 games and never shot a 3 again. But I mean, also kind of the same thing with Josh, right? Like I don't even know if he took another 3 after the contested one he airballed in the corner, but like
he did take another one.
He did take another one. They completely ignored him. He was wide open and he missed that one too.
I mean, yeah. I just shoot the ball. Like I need Josh to hit. I think he shot 31% from 3 last year. 33 or 31. Let me do my due diligence.
I think 31% is right.
Yeah, 30.9% from 3 last year.
Yeah.
And I think his career mark is around 35%. So even if he can get to 30, is that way too high? Am I being silly? I saw the look on your face, Jeff.
I think it's reasonable in this offense where especially if he's starting, he's going to be the only quote unquote non-shooter. Yeah. So he's going to be left open. All of his shots are going to be good ones. Like it's not unreasonable to expect him to shoot when he's open and to shoot like 33 to 35% on those shots.
His career 34.5% from 3. Obviously, we know when he first got here, he was 50% in that half season.
That was so
fun. Trade. That was so much fun. Every time he hit, bro. It was just end of shot clock, cash. And then this year he was down to 31. He also needs to be taken. Like last year, he took 3 threes a game. The half season with us, the year before, he took 2.1. I don't know if that number is going to need to be high, but it can't dip below like 3 or 4. He's going to have to be willing enough to take those shots because, I mean, we already saw today. Like, if one of the worst teams in the NBA can read immediately that Josh is going to be a non-factor shooting the ball, and they can focus on the parts of the starting lineup that make it so great, it's going to be so much more difficult for this offense to make things happen.
Yeah, and this is relative. It'll still be a good offense, a really good offense. It's just at the margins, these things matter, and they will show their head, down the line. And I just don't want to have another, like off season where we're like, oh, I love this team, man. Like gritty group of tryhards. Like this is a fucking championship team, man. Let's try to maximize this shit.
Everything.
I get it. I get we're all excited that this team's really good, but can we just be the best version of this team? Can we be okay with being good or really good? Like, let's talk about what makes this team the absolute best version of this team. And that, to Luca's point, one of those things is Josh Hart shooting when he's open and hopefully shooting well. He's proven he can do it. Dude, in 2020, he averaged 7 threes for 75 possessions and shot 34%. Shot 34%. Like, he's proven that he can be willing to shoot threes at decent volume. And the thing is he does so many other things well. Like, Tibbs loves him. If there's one guy in the NBA who shouldn't be hesitant at all, it should be this guy. It doesn't matter. He could go 0 for 10 in a half, and Tibbs would still be like, well, his rebounding and his hustle. And, like, those things are really valuable, and he loves those things.
I think we have to motivate him with the one thing that I can relate to with Josh Hart, and that is gambling. Someone has to make bets with him about his shooting, not on FanDuel so he doesn't get in trouble, but like, just like tweet at him before the games and make some friendly wagers with him. And I think
Sam,
that will motivate him.
Sam, you're our local gambler. You're the 4-figure master. You got to get on.
Yeah, I know. I had Mikal Bridges, telling me that I basically suck at baseball betting on Twitter earlier this summer. So yeah, I'm in their ear slowly. So I just have to get Josh's attention and convince him to take 5 threes a game or whatever.
I was gonna say, tell him if he takes 4 or 5 threes a game, you'll throw him. I don't know.
I'll throw him some parlays, some football parlays or something.
He'll throw him some locks for the season.
I'll throw him some lottos.
Can't fucking hit.
All I have to show him is the hit I had today, and he'll be
yeah. Was that in game?
No, that was pregame.
How did you know Tank was gonna be the guy?
I didn't, but I saw someone on Twitter that did, and I was like, "This seems like a pretty good bet."
This fucking guy. Would you have a Tank touchdown?
What did you?
No, I had Tank 75 yards. Tank 75 yards and Raheem. The thing is, Raheem Mostert, I did not know that like he was the second back. And then suddenly Devon A-Chain got hurt he got hurt in the game, and then Mostert just got the rest of the carries for the rest of the game, basically.
You should have put fucking Tyrone Tracy in there. He went crazy today.
I should have.
18 for 129. I'm sorry. You guys will hear about this on Strictly NFL this week. We'll talk all about Tyrone Tracy and his, New York counterpart.
This is why you don't pay running backs. Like I know this is very simple. Tyrone Tracy can just show up and be amazing. Like I don't understand.
Like, you can do a Saquon Barkley impersonation out of the blue.
There's so many of these guys. Like they're so good.
7.2 yards per carry. Like, okay.
Saquon who? Anyways, this is not this could turn into a Giants post-game stream, but we are still talking about the Knicks.
I mean, when's the Knicks next preseason game?
Great question. Someone just brought it up. I think our next game is
posted in the chat.
Jordan Bub. He said Wednesday versus the Wizards.
Jesus.
And it's Wednesday versus the Wizards, and then the Wolves. Wow, on ESPN on Saturday.
So
Julius Homecoming.
Richard Jefferson.
Richard Jefferson's on the call.
God,
I'm just assuming.
I
probably.
Oh, the Knicks shouldn't have let Julius go.
He thinks he's Reggie Miller. Like he
thinks he's important.
I mean, RJ was awesome, but RJ's probably like a super underrated player. Actually, like I feel like a lot of people don't remember how good he was, especially early 2000s on the Nets. More people remember him as like the role player on the Cavs.
Yeah.
But fuck, come on, man. Stop. Just do your job. Leave the Knicks out of your mouth. It's not that hard.
How do we feel about Tyler Kolek today? I thought I was really encouraged by what he showed. He continued his awesome play from Summer League. Didn't really show any like slowdown because some guys, they look good in Summer League and then they come to preseason and there's like a little bit of like a gap in their play, I would say. Just because they're still kind of adjusting to the level of play. But I think Kolek's a guy that's like, he's just been solid since high school. I mean, probably since high school, I don't know. But since college, we've seen him play really well at Marquette. And yeah, I mean, he played well in Summer League, played really well in this first game. I know it's against like basically the second unit. But it's still NBA guys. But yeah, I think he held his own. He played really well, ran the show pretty well. What you guys think?
I thought it's really encouraging. The thing about Kolek is he's ready to play. Like that was why they took him. He's an older rookie. I think that he's going to be good. And this is very, very boring analysis. I think he's going to be good at the things he's good at. So like he's a really, really high IQ passer. He runs an offense. We saw in Summer League how good he is at manipulating the pick and roll. I think he can come in the league and like adequately run a bench unit, not turn it over too much. I think his shooting is only going to keep getting better. Weird comparison, but he kind of reminds me of like a lefty Ty Jerome if we're talking about recent rookies. And
that's such a random pull. What the?
I've seen like really solid, like good, like fine shooter, but shooting isn't his main thing. Just not spectacular at any one thing, but it wouldn't shock me if the impact data just really likes him at the end of the day, and likes his presence on the court. I think Jerome's going to surprise some people in Cleveland this year. I guess that's like
that's such a, oh my God, you can really tell when there's levels in this basketball analysis shit when you're pulling out Ty Jerome for a potential top 4 seed in the East. And you're like, oh, dude, with Donovan Mitchell and Garland there, I think he can really, shine and create a role for himself.
I mean, we're not a Cavs postgame show, but I genuinely think this is as fiery as a take can get. I think the Cavs should trade Garland, and I think that they should trade Garland for depth and have more good basketball players on their team. And I think that like Jerome and Mitchell would be fine as a backcourt. Like it would almost be the same. Like because Mitchell's so good. You want Mitchell to be the guy anyways.
I'll say this, and then we can move away from Cavs post game. I think the Garland trade that will and should happen is, to your point, the consolidation trade that Knicks fans have been wanting for Julius for fucking forever.
Yeah.
The random like Tobias and a couple firsts or whatever, like the Tobias, D'Anthony Melton, and a first. I think that was floated around last summer. It actually might have been you guys. We might have talked about that.
Yeah, that sounds.
But it's got to be one of those types of trades. Like, I just, and they have the Mobley Allen thing. Like,
yeah,
they can't have that happening at 2 positions. They just can't.
Yeah, it's weird. They have like a double clone theory thing going on. Like just
double clone theory.
Yeah, it's like
they
have to make a decision at 2 different positions. That can't be fun. I mean, I assume it's actually a really easy decision for them. I assume they're going to get rid of Allen and get rid of Garland, and it's going to be Mitchell and Mobley.
Their lube right now has to be awful.
Good stuff. But to bring back to the Knicks and Kolek. Sorry, people who are listening or who came here for Knicks talk. I think Kolek is really solid already. I think he's ready to play. I personally would play him over Campaign if I was going to go that route. If I was going to play a guard next to Deuce off the bench, or fingers crossed, if Deuce works his way in the starting lineup and you need a backup guard, I would play Kolek over Campaign right now. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that. That's not Campaign slander. I just think Kolek's ready.
I don't think that's insane. It's definitely it's not going to happen. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. We know Tibbs and his rookies, but like if we're going to talk about Campaign, I'll talk about him in a positive light. He's so fucking annoying as a basketball player, just generally. Like every time I watch him against the Knicks, when he's on
oh my god, especially when he's on the Sixers last year in the playoffs,
he'll hit 3 threes. He'll get a couple deflections and steals. He'll draw a couple fouls. He'll have a fucking random off-ball foul on a key possession to send it the other way. He just does all these annoying, gritty vet things. Like he was in on a couple offensive rebounds today for no reason that he had no business being in on. I just think like his weird herky-jerky style of play could get a lot of guys open on the bench, especially if Deuce is going to be starting and if Deuce is going to be alongside him and we're going to be doing the 3-guard thing with Shamet. Because let's say it's Deuce, Payne, Shamet. I'll do the thing I did before. Deuce, Payne, Shamet, Mikal, and Precious. You have 3 really good shooters out there. If Precious can kind of do the iHeart, like above the free throw line, sometimes out in the 3-point line hub thing, that would be awesome. But Cam's going to have 3 good shooters to kick out to on the bench. If he ever gets run next to Jalen for some reason, I don't know if they would do that. But like if he ever gets any run with any other of the starters, everyone outside of Josh is an elite 3-point shooter. He's just going to be fun, man. Like I think he stabilizes this offense in a way that Tibbs probably can't 100% depend on Kolek giving us, even though I personally think Kolek's ready. I just don't think he'll go that route yet. I think he provides enough passing, like his assist percentage. I'm going to pull up real quick because that caught my eye earlier. Last year was really bad. It was not really bad, actually. It was the 81st percentile. The 3 years prior to that, though, 96th percentile with Phoenix in 2023, 96 again with Phoenix in 2022, and then 92nd with Phoenix in 2021. He's going to spray the ball. I think he knows how to get guys open. I think we saw a little bit of that today. He and Kolek had a couple really good 2-man possessions. The one that sticks out
Nash and Stat
was the last was one of the last Knicks possessions of the game where they had the 2-man and the ball found Kolek on the right wing, I believe, and he missed that 3. But they have a weird little chemistry going on. I'm excited to see it pop more as they continue to play in the preseason. And if he can, like, since he's going to be playing alongside Deuce, if he can take a little bit more of the reins offensively, because I don't know if Deuce is still entirely ready to run a bench offense fully by himself. I think that could be a weird, like, opposite, like, they have opposing strengths, and I think it could weirdly mesh in a way that is annoying for other teams' benches. Because he's not a good defender, but it's kind of the Brunson thing. He's not nearly as stocky or big as Brunson is, but he can be annoying in a way that I don't think he'll be a complete liability on that side of the floor. Dude, I never thought I'd be doing campaign analysis, but here we are.
Here we are, man. Campaign's actually like, man, as soon as that trade went down, he became like such a key part of this team.
Now you know why some of these things happened, right? Like the campaign signing, the Morris signing earlier, the Shamet signing, the Warren thing. It's a shame
Morris didn't want to come back after the Cat trade.
I would have loved a Mook redemption arc here.
But yeah, we got what you call it, TJ Warren. Apparently, I mean, last time he actually played like significant minutes, I think was like for the Nets a couple of years ago.
He was, yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
And he was all right. Like he kind of did like an Alec Burks impersonation basically on that team. So there goes the Alec Burks replacement. For
new Alec Burks just dropped.
Yep, 6'8" Alec Burks just dropped. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
TJ Warren part of the discussion.
Yep.
Dude, we just didn't see enough of the starters to talk about it, which kind of sucks.
But yeah, but you know what? I like that because it also hindered me from placing a very irresponsible bet because FanDuel offers player props for preseason games now. So
did you take that Pritchard 30 that I saw?
No, but I was tempted. I was tempted to take his 25 and 6 assists, and it almost would have cashed because he had 21 and 6 assists. But not as the preseason goes on, I think a lot of teams will start to play their starters a little bit more and more. Same with the Knicks. I mean, Julius Randle had a game winner in preseason a couple years ago. That's how you know how deep into these games the starters will actually play sometimes. So
that's also
I think it is, but that's why I was so encouraged today to see that he didn't play these guys in the second half. Like he just let the bench go kind of crazy and let them do their thing. And we got to see a lot of players that we probably wouldn't have seen a lot of if the starters played that much more. Like we probably wouldn't have seen Kolek, which kind of makes me think we won't see Pacome this.
I was just going to say that, yeah,
because
he
didn't get in today.
I know we shouted him out for like playing well overall. Probably the most encouraging part of the game today by Deuce. He really, really showed less hesitation shooting than I've ever seen from him. Like he was just like, dude, if I'm open, I'm fucking firing that thing. And look, if his shooting from last season is for real, he should do that. He should shoot anytime he's open. He should never hesitate. He should never defer on an open 3 because he's afraid of being pulled. That should never be a thing. Everybody should be reinforcing that from the coaching staff to his teammates. And it was pretty cool to see. You want him to take a few less of those contested mid-ranges, of course, and that's what people talk about. And I think it's a fair criticism when people talk about him not being a point guard. And they say not sure I trust him to run an offense. It's that specific part of his game that they're talking about because he's not, elite at getting to the rim. So when he finds his way into the paint, the balance of spraying it out to the perimeter, as Luka was just talking about with campaign, his balance of shooting that midi that he's not super great at and spraying it out and finding shooters isn't the best right now. And that's an area of growth. But he has improved almost across the board. So there's no reason we shouldn't expect him to get better in that department too. Just gotta, keep letting him grow and keep letting him play through these things. And so I thought it was really encouraging that he came out, even from like the first minute he was in, when he came in for Mikal Bridges and was playing with the rest of the starters, he was not hesitating on those shots. And that's what you want to see. You really, really, really want to see that from him.
It kind of similarly reminds me of Quick's first year as like the lead bench guy, right? When we knew in his rookie year he was the float god, you get into the paint and then just hit the floater every time. And as teams started like having to prepare for him as the sixth man off the bench, no longer just the guard pairing with Derrick Rose, you saw him have to adapt as well and like get into his elbow jumper bag and learn how to snake screens to get to the rim better and learn how to manipulate the big he's rolling with to open up the corner and the wings for his teammates and stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a similar style leap from Deuce. I think we're at the point now it's so weird, the similar, like, is it just going to be a pipeline of like IQ-esque players on the six man the entire time that Tibbs and Leon are here? Like, it's going to be IQ and it's going to be Deuce. And then next year it's going to be like Kolek's going to be a good defender for some reason. But no, I don't think the midi's awful. I think it's just more of like learn when to take it. To your point, Jeff, a lot of them were contested today. And I just think as he becomes more comfortable with being the guy in his unit, those things are just going to come, right? He's going to learn to take those extra couple dribbles and not take the contested midi, but maybe take a couple more dribbles towards the baseline and hit a baseline fade, or, keep your dribble alive and then hit your rolling big or corner or wing. And I think I trust Deuce to put in the work. I know like everything we've seen tells us that he works his ass off. I think Tibbs sees that. And I just think Deuce is going to have a massive opportunity to shine this year. I'm not going to I don't think he would win sixth man of the year, but I think if he's the sixth man for the Knicks the whole year, he should probably be top three and consider.
Well, sixth man of the year is about who's the best bench scorer. So
that's true.
You know who could defy the trend of bench scorers and win sixth man of the year because he's really popular in media and because everybody loves him for his grit and his hustle?
Don't say it.
Josh fucking Hart, man.
Nah, he won't. The media loves giving it to the best scorer off the bench. Like it's like ingrained.
They're gonna give it to Hero again.
It's like
Sam,
ingrained in their souls.
Who would you pick right now as the front runner to win sixth man of the year?
Malik Monk. He was supposed to win it last year and he didn't because he got injured at the end of the year.
Okay, I'll make a wager with you on stream right now. I don't know what we're betting. We can decide it off stream. You get Malik Monk, I get Josh Hart. If Deuce McBride is the opening night starter, anyone else is a push to win sixth man of the year.
All right.
Let's go.
I think like the media just has this thing like Malik Monk was supposed to get it last year, I think. So I think they'll just give it to him this year because he was
the media just gets like a boner for really weird, stupid things all the time. And if the Knicks were really good and Josh Hart had a good season, they would talk about how he was this like super valuable Swiss Army knife on the off the bench, and they would like jerk themselves off over talking about how they know basketball because it's not
the media and sports in general also just like they like preemptively pick certain awards too. Like Asia Wilson, for example, on WNBA. Hopefully, no weird WNBA fans find this and like attack me. But like,
oh god, here we go.
But like, she was chosen from before the season even started that she was going to be MVP. No matter what happened, she was going to be MVP. They were struggling, barely over 500 for parts of the year, and they were still talking about how she was going to be unanimous MVP. Could you imagine if someone in the NBA was like barely leading their team over 500 and we were discussing them as a unanimous MVP? Like, I understand she did so many great things individually, but like your team is struggling. You have all these Olympians. You have the sixth player of the year on your team. you have this amazing so-called coach, and you struggle all year against really elite talent, and your best games came against mediocre to bad defensive teams. Like, come on.
Bro,
Like,
if
unanimous MVP, like that was preemptively chosen from the beginning of the year. That pisses me off. And that's why I felt so happy, so vindicated today to watch the Las Vegas Aces go down to my wonderful New York Liberty. This is now turning into a New York Liberty post-game celebration stream. But I was so happy to see them put the Aces in the dirt because of all this unnecessary slobbering and praise that wasn't justified, and it should have went to other players.
If you weren't already convinced to keep watching the show by the Ty Jerome analysis, the Becky Harmon slander is definitely got to keep you around. Like, that's got to. Is that her last name? Is it Harmon or Hammond?
Hammond. And she is about to get hit with the craziest lawsuit in WNBA history probably soon.
Yeah. We got Liberty coverage, we got Knicks coverage, we got Giants coverage, we got Cavs coverage.
We do it all for you here at the Strickland. What more do you want from us? We'll give you Yankees coverage if you want, man. I don't know how many people want it.
That's where you lose the people. They want Mets coverage.
Everyone's a Mets fan. Yeah, it's just me and Max.
I don't blame people. You know, watching Aaron Judge yesterday, I made money off of his failure.
Don't talk to me. We won. Just don't talk to me.
I put $5.
Aaron Judge slander will not be allowed here, Samuel.
I'm sorry. I'm a Yankees fan, but like this guy in the playoffs, I will make money rolling over his strikeout bets. Like I would just keep betting his plate appearances for strikeouts, and I would just keep making money. I made $20. I made $20 off of this guy striking out yesterday for the fourth time. What was it yesterday? Shout out to him.
He was like over 4 or 3 strikeouts, I think.
Yeah, shout out to him. He made me some money. We won in spite of him.
Apparently. Shout out Alex Verdugo. For yesterday. Let me clarify. People thought Grimes was. The Grimes thing is so funny to me. At this point, I don't know. Do we want to talk any more about the actual game itself?
There's nothing really else to really talk about.
Wait, like Quentin Grimes?
I'm looking. I am banned. No, I'm not banned. I don't have the
Quentin power. Grimes is hilarious, by the way.
Ace said Deuces who people thought Grimes was. Yes, Quentin Grimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Without a doubt.
Anytime Grimes' name is brought up regarding the Knicks, I just think it's funny how he's just been completely like eviscerated and everyone just fucking hates him.
Well, he's like so unaware.
He had the ball weighs 100 pounds thing is never not going to be funny to me.
That's what he said? He said that one time?
Yeah, last year when he was struggling to start the year, I think it was like one of the first games after he got benched for Dante. He was like, yeah, it's just hard for me to, take shots comfortably when the ball fields like it's 100 pounds in my hands. I was like,
well, he had this. He also had this quote that like Schwinn quote tweeted like earlier during one of the Mavs media day or whatever. It was like he said something about like I'm happy to be on this team. They're so unselfish. I'll be able to showcase like more of what I can do on the ball and stuff like that. It's like, dude, that's not who you are as a basketball player. Like I thought like after like first he came from Kansas to Houston, and I thought that's when he finally like awakened to what he is as a basketball player, and then he got to the Knicks, and then he has this role. He's really good in it. And then all of a sudden he wants to do like all this extra stuff. And it's just like, he just doesn't get it. And I don't know, maybe being on a team that like has championship aspirations after being on the Pistons for that half year or whatever part of the year that was, but I don't know.
I mean,
he's interesting.
What's going to happen is Jason Kidd's going to look at him and tell him, Quentin, if you don't play the Josh Green role, you're not going to play. And then he's going to either play it or he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they also lost Derek Jones, right? He's not over there anymore. So, like, you lose 2 3-and-D wings, and now you're one of the wings to come back is Klay Thompson, whose fucking knees are gonna fall off any second, and I don't know when the last time he played defense was.
They got
and all of a sudden,
they got Najee Marshall too, right?
Oh, they do have Najee. That's a good show.
Yeah, I think they got.
He's
better.
actually gonna be. He's gonna be very solid.
It's a really weird situation. It'll be funny to see how people analyze it because I'm like pretty sure they got better, but obviously it's really hard to make the finals again. So like they could just lose in the first round this year and still be a better team than they were last year. Just don't have the playoff luck that they did last year.
I think they're definitely better on paper. I like the Klay upgrade for more offense. Because we saw. Are we gonna do a Dallas thing now? Let's do a Dallas thing now. Because PJ went cold in the playoffs. I think, with confidence, Grimes is probably a more true shooter than Derrick Jones. I'm not exactly sure.
You say probably?
I mean, he definitely is.
We're talking about Derrick Jones.
That was a fake shooting season last year.
Yes, that was a fake shooting season.
Because my next sentence was gonna be, I never remember Derrick Jones being talked about as a 3-point shooter, and there's a reason
because he wasn't. He sucked at it.
Yeah, dude, It wasn't even a fake shooting season. He shot 30. He's never shot over 34% in his life from 3. It was just like 2 weeks in the playoffs when he couldn't miss for some reason. It was insane.
Can somebody real quick look up Derrick Jones Jr. And see what the ESPN picture is for him? Because I'm seeing PJ Tucker.
Jesus. No, that's Derrick Jones.
They're really bad with this stuff.
I see PJ Tucker. I don't know.
You see PJ Tucker.
So,
do we need to have a conversation here, Luca?
No, I'm scrolling down to get his basketball reference, and the headshot for Derrick Jones is just PJ Tucker. So shout out to ESPN and all their things over there.
Wow.
Wait, the ESPN headshot and the basketball reference headshot are the same for me. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know.
Anyways, he's never shot over 34% from 3. Man, he shot 37% in the playoffs. Yeah, he must have shot really bad against Boston, which shout out Sam, classic Boston shooting luck. I bet Derrick Jones Jr. just God moded for 2 weeks and then went to the finals and remember he wasn't like that good a shooter against Boston. Because that's how it works.
It always happens.
They trade for Derek White and he becomes just an actual god. Like, what the fuck, man?
And now the Peyton Pritchard thing too, he's actually like a person. Like, I never thought he was like a bad basketball player. I didn't think he would pan out great in the NBA, but he's just translated. Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett is getting he was getting actual minutes.
See, this is what we need the Knicks role players this year to turn into. Like guys like Campaign and Shamit. We need them to actually turn into have basketball renaissances in New York.
Yeah, our role players need to be talked about in the same way that the Celtics do, and that's how you know we're doing something right.
We need that magic. We need that magic to happen for us. I love this comment here from Jordan Bubb. He says Becky Hammond sends the Jalen Brunson slander versus New York teams. 1-6. You just got eliminated. No 3-peat for you. And you're about to get a lawsuit.
That was the 1A stuff, right?
Yep. And she's about to get a lawsuit.
People were so mad about Knicks fans being mad about that last year. That was the silliest back and forth.
But the funniest thing is WNBA fans have hated her forever though. They hate her. Every single post-game comment she has or pre-game comment she has, you'll just see it's quote tweeted oh my God, what a massive loser Becky Hammond is.
I have another sort of hot take about what she said about Brunson. She's wrong. I actually think I've been thinking about this a lot this offseason. I actually think in today's game, more players can be 1As on a championship team than ever before. Because there's such a wide range of additive role players that you could just build. Just name a player. I guarantee you I could build a feasible championship level team around Trae Young. I know everybody hates Trae Young. I actually think that Trae Young's the 20th best player, 30th best player in the NBA right now or something. I actually think that you could build a championship level offense around, or a championship level team around Trae Young, or even De'Aaron fucking Fox.
I was gonna bring up Fox. Do you think like I don't know, fucking like Jalen? Do you think if they took Tatum off that team, then he would still be a great 1A for them?
No. I think he's in his exact right role, and I think that's really good for him. I think he's like I think he's really vital to them. I think they need something beyond Tatum. I think it'd be nice for them if he shot a little bit better from three. He was like pretty clearly their fourth or fifth best 3-point shooter in the starting lineup last year.
And he was still 35%, which I think
he shot 35%. He's fine. I just think he can shoot a little better. I think his shot selection can get a little better. I thought you made a great point earlier this episode when you were talking about Deuce. Like a lot of these guys, their improvement doesn't even need to come from being better at shooters. It just needs to be raising the floor of their shot quality. Like if they just cut out the bottom 10% of their shots, their efficiency will go up. And they won't actually have gotten better at shooting the basketball, but they'll be better shooters, if that makes sense. Like they'll be better. Yeah, they'll be more efficient.
Dude, every fucking time we bring up this shot quality thing, it's just the RJ thing. It's just the RJ thing. Just take better shots and your floor as a player increases exponentially.
Dude, he's doing it in Toronto.
We'll see how long it lasts.
I will not
see how long it lasts.
He's crushing right now, Sam.
They're doing
see how long it lasts
again.
He's playing right now without Barnes and without Quickly, and he's got 17 on 7 of 10 shooting, 3 or 4 from 3.
Oh yeah, that's perfect for him. But let's see how it looks when those guys are back and Quickly has to do his Quickly thing.
Sam the RJ hater, love it.
Not the RJ hater. I've always been truthful about him. I
mean,
he's not here anymore, so I don't have to go to extremes to defend him.
Do you see the quick quote? I think they asked him about RJ with the ball in his hands. He was like, anybody who knows RJ knows that he only loves having the ball in his hands and knows that RJ only loves scoring.
Yeah.
He ain't lying. Hey,
man, Darko's cooking with them over there, I will say. I don't think they're going to be good, but I think they're going to be fun. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah. Well, you know what Jakob Poeltl said? He said they ain't competing for no championships this year.
Yeah, I think that's good self-awareness. I think that's good self-awareness, though, man. Like,
it's just that no one says it out loud.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But knowing your goals as a franchise, it makes it easier to like construct strategies that align with those goals if you can be self-aware about them. So,
and also makes it like better as like I think as a team. Like if your players are all aware of that, they like aren't going to like take it too. They're not going to take the year, like, they're not going to be, like, so down on themselves if, like, they're losing so much. I know, like, as competitors, they naturally will, but it won't go to that, like, level that we see with other teams that, like, have those expectations to be really good and then end up being bad. Like, if you're expecting, like they say, if you expect the worst, like, then, nothing's really disappointing for you.
No,
so, like,
is what he said.
Yeah, so, like, basically, if you, like, expecting, like, the worst as a team, like, you can only expect to go up from there.
Yeah, 100%.
Retro corrected me. The quote was RJ loves cutting only if he can score off the cut.
Yeah,
they were asking about RJ's. I believe they were asking IQ about what he's noticed in RJ's off-ball movement differently between New York and Toronto. And that was the answer. So shout out to IQ and RJ. I'm glad they're doing well over there.
Yep.
Couple. I can't bring him up, but a couple of good questions from Jordan Bub. I saw the Randall one. I think that's been talked about a little bit. Just
he asks, do you think Randall will stay with the Wolves for the entire season? I think it depends on how it goes, how the first couple months start off.
I think, the thing for me, I mean, the Timberwolves obviously made this trade for financial flexibility. Mm-hmm. I think if they want to stay true to that, then they'll to your point, Sam, it's a dangerous game to play because if they hold on to them and they're a good team and they make the playoffs and then Julius fucking stinks it up in the playoffs again, he's just going to accept that team option. And then there goes to some of the flexibility that they thought they got in the cat trade. And then this is it becomes another difficult decision for their front office if they make the playoffs and then he has a great postseason and he declines his player option. And now they have to decide if they want to compete with the other bidders for his services. And Ant's not like it's a difficult game to play, I think, especially for the position that this franchise is in, because they're only expected to get better, right? Ant's only shining more as a player every year. And having somebody like that as your superstar, like poster child, he's not a quiet guy by any means. Like, he will speak his mind. So if he's going to go into next year as with Rudy as his 1B or Rudy as his number 2 option, and like Dillingham's not there yet, and then Naz Reid doesn't really improve offensively, and you just let 25, 10, and 5 walk out the door for nothing. I don't know, man. It's a really interesting predicament they have over there, because I don't think their financial freedom is all that they've talked it up to be yet.
Well, and it's like sort of fake financial freedom, right? Like,
it's
I get
freedom because
I get that getting off the Towns contract was important to them because they didn't want to pay him $60 million 4 years from now. But let's say Randall declines his player option next year and then he goes somewhere else. They're still operating over the cap.
And they still have to pay Nas.
They still have to pay Nas. They still have McDaniels on a huge deal. They still have Edwards on a huge deal. Like, it's not like they have all this flexibility now that Towns is gone and if Randall leaves. So this isn't to say that they need to make it work with Randall, but it would be nice for them. Like, I mean, if Dante is Dante, they're going to feel pretty good about the trade. If Dante is the Dante of last year, that was, I mean, look, it was one preseason game. They seem to want to elevate him, which is good. They seem aware of who he is and what he can be if he's in rhythm. Also good. But of course, the ceiling for this trade for them is Randall, like, fitting in nicely, playing off of Edwards, being interactive with him, and them making it work with him. This is kind of a show me season for Randall too, man. He's 30.
Yeah.
He's 30. He wants to get paid next year.
Contract year, Randall.
How
that goes.
Dude, he helped turn like the most miserable franchise in sports around. And they were like, yeah, we want someone else. Sorry. Like that, whether you like it or not, that says something to other teams. Everyone knows what he's done in the playoffs. Are there excuses for those playoff woes? I think there are. I don't think there are basketball reasons to believe that Julius Randle is just going to be a playoff failure for his whole life.
Yeah.
But the evidence is what the evidence is. He's 30 years old. And he's never succeeded in the playoffs ever. He has to show it. That's all I mean by it's a show me season. It is a show me season for Julius Randle. He has to show that he can fit into a system like the Timberwolves. Chris Finch is an elite coach. If Julius Randle buys in, it will pay off for him. Finch will find ways.
They have championship expectations.
Yeah, they have championship expectations, and he has to do it in the playoffs too. So I think it'll be fun to watch him fit in there. I hope he's 100%, or I hope when he takes the court, he is 100%. And yeah, I'm excited to watch him and Dante play in Minnesota. I'm going to be rooting for them. I really only root for the Knicks, but it'll be fun to watch them.
I just think it's such an interesting conversation. We can wrap it up soon, but like Julius being 30 and never having a solid playoff run, and the Knicks didn't extend him because I think he's up for like at least 30, right? Like he's not going to take a contract for less than 30 a year, I don't think.
I mean, he wouldn't have taken one from the Knicks for less than 30 a year. That's for sure. After they just gave OG what they gave.
Jalen and OG.
Yeah. But like, what if that's his market?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like, can we call him a star? Like, do you think we can call Julius Randle a star?
Yeah.
That's arbitrary to me. I think so. I mean, he's made 2 All-NBA teams and he's made 3 All-Star teams in the last 4 years.
He's definitely
so let's call him a star, right? He's one of the very few stars in the NBA that doesn't have a clear-cut role on a contending team. And I think like it's very similar to the New Orleans situation over there and them and Brandon Ingram. Like, B.I. is kind of the same way. He's getting older. He's due for a contract. They're going to be a good team, but they have no idea what to expect from him in the postseason. And he's holding up some of their cap sheet and like further future decision making. all that to say, like, it's just as a basketball fan, it's just such a unique, like, it's just such a unique thing in the sport because like, you don't really see guys who are multiple time all NBA players and have averaged 25, 10, and 5. And then we might get to the end of the year and he declines his player option and nobody wants to pay him because nobody wants to give him the money he's looking for. Like, it could very well become a 2K thing where he takes like a $20 million a year contract on a bad team and plays incredibly well and hopes he gets traded to a contender later on an actual decent contract that they can take on. Whatever happens, always going to be rooting for him. He did so much for this franchise, came in when nobody else wanted to, put the franchise on his shoulders, and made us not a joke of an organization, which I'll always appreciate him for.
Yeah.
Or helped.
Yes, yeah. I mean, that's to Julius for buying in. I think him, Tibbs, and Leon will always be connected in some way, and they all played their hand in getting the Knicks where they are. It's funny. I had an article for Strickland that I had pitched to Alex, and the title, and it was like a week before the trade, and the title of the article was should Julius Randle and Tibbs be here for the championship for the franchise or whatever basically the idea was like, should they be here to win a championship with the franchise they helped turn around? That was like the premise, and basically it was like trying to show appreciation for them for turning around. But it's like, are they the guys? Are they the coach and the power forward who you can have at the end of the season? Can they get you there? And I think that's an interesting discussion. I think that's what you're trying to have with Julius here is like if you're building a contender, what is Julius's ideal role on that contender? That's really tough. It's a tough thing to do because he wants the ball in his hands. I literally said a half hour ago, this is the deepest the league has ever been with guys who can be number ones on a championship team, that you could build a championship team around them as a number one. I don't know if I would extend that far enough to Julius. I think you can build some very good teams. XJ and I have done this on High Hand Theory. Like, I think, if you just build a team of additive, really good guys, like you have like Derek White and a Derek White clone as the backcourt, and then OG Anunoby and Porzingis. There you go. That's like a super but that's kind of hard to do. How reasonable is it to build a realistic team with Julius where he's like the guy and you're a championship contender? That's hard. And if you're not going to be that guy, you have to find ways to be on the court next to one of those guys. You just do. If you don't, it gets diminishing. Your team becomes less than the sum of its part. The whole becomes less than the sum of its parts. And until Julius, this is why I was saying it's so important that he proves that his impact can be interactive with Anthony Edwards, that he makes an effort to be a screen partner with him, to space off of him. That is Julius's best way to prove that he can be a peak impactful player on one of these championship teams.
Oh my God, Sam, I am so sorry.
Is Sam sick?
Yeah, my students got me sick.
Oh, dude, let's stop this. We're just bullshitting now.
Yeah, I'm like dying over here.
Sorry, yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a really good job of masking it. I have to go back into that 6 zone tomorrow.
You poor soul, man.
Yeah, got to deal with a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds coughing in my face and wiping their snotty arms on me. It's prime 6 season right now.
You've got that. You got that football parlay to help pay for like 1/10 of the hospital visit. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I got great insurance too. Shout out to that's the one good thing that comes probably from being a teacher in New York City. Shout out to the indicted mayor who keeps cutting teacher funding.
Oh, Eric.
Your good friend, Eric Adams.
Not my good friend. He will be a good inmate. That's what he will be.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I think we're gonna end things here. We got our next preseason game on Wednesday versus the lowly Wizards, who are getting absolutely walloped by the Raptors right now. Last time I checked the score. So that should be a very entertaining preseason game. Maybe some Landry Shamet revenge for the team that tanked his his averages.
Landry Shamet revenge game. God damn, man.
You have to
Yeah.
play, Jeff. You have to play the hits. You don't get it. You gotta play
Yep.
the hits, man. Revenge games, man.
Yep. So yeah, I'll be back for that game. Hopefully I'm feeling much more healthy after that game. But yeah, make sure you guys check out all the links in the description. Make sure you guys check out all the great work that's going on at the Strickland.
We did just every episode of the podcast, every podcast episode that was released by the Strickland this past week is free.
Yep.
So
it was
go
free
check out
week here at
the free
Strickland
podcast week. A lot of good stuff over there. You got Strictly NFL with our good friends Con and Desmond. Schwinn had a great live pod Strickland with Christian Winfield of the Knicks beat. That was a great listen. Talked all about Cat and training camp expectations and mold and fit and all that type of stuff. And I just say keep a lookout for this week's Strictly NFL. That should come out either.
The Giants won. It should be positive.
The Giants won and the Jets lost, so it will make for an interesting postgame or podcast episode because that doesn't happen too often these days.
Shout out to Aaron Rodgers, who looked absolutely washed. 3 interceptions. What? Shout out to the Jets fans that had to wake up at like 8 o'clock this morning to get ready to watch that horrific match. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We had over 1K. It looks like 1K between Twitter and YouTube. So make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on Twitter and the next post-game stream. Peace.